Hey there, it's Emily, the super sensitive human, and you guys have not heard from me for a while, but I am alive and well-ish. I want to do video. I haven't done anything because I'm just distracted is all. I've just been distracted with life, and that's the only thing. PhD program and other stuff. So I want to do a video on coronavirus survival tips from a full-time recluse, because I haven't been out of my house since March 8th. Totally coincidentally. I had no reason, just haven't. I've been out of the house, but I have not left the neighborhood by vehicle. Only I've been out on foot, running and jogging, walking. So I wanted to do a video to help people who aren't used to that with some things that they could do, because this can be an exciting and fun time if you are locked at home. Now, I'm not a big germaphobe or a fear monger, so like I said, there's no particular reason I haven't been anywhere. It's just that's the way that I live. So if I wanted to go somewhere, I would do it. But you kind of got to play the game. Even if you're not afraid of this coronavirus stuff, it's become such a social pressure that you've got to kind of play the game now and pretend like you're afraid of it. So just make it a game. Go along with it, because as somebody who's probably been burned at the stake a few times in a few past lives for being a little bit too rebellious and outspoken, I can tell you, just pretend. It's better that way. Tip number one, this is a great time to start a garden. It's springtime. It's right around the time when planting is getting good. The freezes are ending, so you can start some seeds. Cold weather plants in the northern hemisphere are going to be your brassicas and stuff. If you live kind of up north, you can still do cabbages and related plants like that. And it might be a little bit longer yet before you can put in your tomatoes and things. Might be another month or two, but you can start them indoors. You can always plant a seed. So great time for gardening. Great coincidence that this is peak garden season. Second tip, this would be a great time to get a dog. Now, I'm not getting a dog right now because this is not a break for me. I'm working harder on my PhD program than normal, not having less to do. I'm having more to do and doing less things that some people might be doing because they don't have to work. But this would be a great time to get a dog, because dogs need a lot of exercise. They need a lot of training, mostly. Forget about the exercise, because eventually you're going to go away and not be able to exercise them. But they need training. So if you get a new dog, this is a great time to put in all that energy to train it and make it a good dog. And you might have to house train it to begin with, and you're going to want to monitor it to see if it's a dog that will escape your fence or whatever. You might have to monitor it in the beginning to make sure that it's not going to dig itself out or anything like that. So excellent time, and I've heard that people are adopting dogs right now. This is also a great time for exercise. Now, I exercise without going to the gym or anything all the time, so that shouldn't stop you. I go out walking and running around the neighborhood, and I do my sit-ups over here. I would show you my stomach, but you know, this time of day is not great. It's a little bit bloated in the afternoons. I'll show you my stomach on another day. It's getting nice lines through it. But I've got my pull-up bar here, and maybe can I do some pull-ups on the screen? I'm getting pretty good at them. We'll see. I'll do them with my hands like this because I'm better. Okay, I just did 7 with my hands like this. I can do 8 on a good day, but today's not a good day apparently. My goal is to be able to do 9 with my hands like this, because then I'll be stronger than I was as a teenager, and that will be an important ego boost to me. Okay, so tip number 4, you can get your groceries delivered with Instacart. I've been doing that for a while, or any whatever delivery service. Walmart has it, some other people have it, but Instacart may come to your area. I didn't think it would be in rural Rimrock when I first started using it. I've been using it for, according to the little app, 44 deliveries now. So this has been a long time for me, and I'll leave a link in the description with my promo code if you want to start using Instacart, because then I'll get like $10 or $20 if you sign up. But I've never gotten that before. I've just been using Instacart for 44 deliveries because it's convenient for me and I don't like to go to the store. Tip number 5. This is a good time to practice your intimacy skills. If you're with a partner or a family that you're spending a lot more time with without the distractions, this is a good time to really get to know each other and talk about your feelings, which is something that I like to build into relationships from the beginning. So it's sort of an everyday thing. So there's lots of ways to practice intimacy. It doesn't have to be talking. You could exchange massages and other such things, but it's a good time to ask some questions. So, you know, some questions that I ask often are like around the dinner table, so people don't look at their phones all the time. I like to think of a thought-provoking questions to ask at dinner, and, you know, try in a relationship to never like just run out of things to say if you're sitting in a restaurant or whatever. And so I like to have some questions in mind. You can look them up on the internet if you want. I'm sure that I don't have any like games or anything that I know of, but I'm sure that there's lists of questions. So some of the ones that I use a lot are, you know, talking about the 3 things that we're grateful for today, or 5 things or 10 things. If you want to make it more personal, you can ask what's something that you're grateful for that, for example, I've done for you if we're partners. I'll ask what also is the most challenging thing for you today, because that is an opportunity, A, for people to vent, which they really like, and B, an opportunity for them to bring up something that might have been challenging about you that they didn't want to say. And then you can nip those problems in the bud, because you don't want to have somebody store them up only to explode on you months later and complain about how you always take the hot shower water and don't have any consideration for anyone else, and you're like, I had no idea. Other questions, a good one is, when's the last time you felt really happy? Some of the last times that you felt the most happy or the most loved, because then if you know when your partner felt the most loved last, then you can make sure to do those kind of things again. It's very important. And if you're single, you can do it. Even this is a good opportunity, I think, on like Tinder and stuff, to ask people deeper questions, because they're bored right now and they're more likely to engage in real conversations because they're not super busy. So you might be able to get some deeper questions out of people, like, you know, asking them why they're single still. Why do they still think they're single is a good question. And could be a good time to use Tinder as a screener for compatibility, I think, because you can figure out, for me, some people would be willing to date right now and meet a stranger, and some people would not. So I'm a risk taker. adventurous, I would be willing to meet somebody. Therefore, I'd want to date another risk taker. I'm always getting into trouble in my relationships over like my propensity to ignore no trespassing signs. That's been a topic in like more than one. But anyway, if somebody didn't want to meet me because of the virus, I might think that they were kind of a pussy and that we wouldn't get along. And also that they didn't think that I was worth it enough. I want to be worth it. Your death. Tip number whatever we're on. A good time to implement some immune boosting practices that you should be doing all the time. You should always be. I'm a person who's like all about the terrain and not about the environment. It's all about your internal terrain, whether something is gonna hit you or not. So you want to make sure that your terrain is good, and you should be worrying about that all the time. So now is a good time to improve your diet. And I don't know about where you live, but where I live, there's still plenty of fresh foods in the grocery store. Even though like 50% of them are out, still a lot of fruits and vegetables. 50% is still like 50 left. Different kinds that you can use. So it's a good time to improve your diet. It's a good time to incorporate wild foods into your diet, because wild foods have a lot more of those phytochemicals that are good for your immune system. And all those plants that are smelly, like mints and stuff, mints and sages and pines and all those things that are aromatic, those are all immune boosting, antibacterial, antiviral type things. So look into those. Good time to make elderberry syrup. If I was going to do one supplement, I would do zinc, probably liquid zinc. I think everybody needs zinc now or all the time, no matter what. People are low in zinc. Look into, if you were thinking about getting a sauna, or this is a separate tip. If you were thinking about getting a sauna, but this is a good time to buy one. If you want to though, you can build a sweat lodge. Now, I know some people are going to be a little bit afraid to do that because the politically correct police are going to shoot them, because most sweat lodges in the United States are Lakota, Plains Indian derived, but sweat lodges are a universal thing, and you don't have to do it from any one tradition. You don't have to make up some false ceremony or steal some ceremony. You don't have to even build it in the shape of a wigwam, which is a little bit harder because you have to find the branches that you can bend and tie together. You could build it in the shape of a teepee, and you just have a little bit less shittier space for sitting and heating, but you can still do it. And you just gotta tarp some stuff up into a tarp shape, throw some blankets around that if you want to keep the heat in, keep it hotter. And you want to heat your rocks up in a fire for a few hours and then stick them in there. And if you've done it right, the rocks are going to be glowing red, and you pour some water on them to make the steam, and you've got a non-denominational sweat lodge. But you just want to be careful with what kind of rocks you use, because they will explode if they have water in them or cracks in them. But you can look up stuff. Ask me about that if you care about that. Anyway, sweat lodge or sauna could be a good thing to do on your date with somebody who's not afraid of getting the virus, just to make extra certain that you're not going to get it. I myself have built a sweat lodge on a first date for non-virus reasons. I went on a Christmas date one time several years ago, and it was a great date. Next tip is to get therapy. Now, if you're locked in with your people in your household and you're unhappy, or you're by yourself and you're unhappy, you might want to take this opportunity to get some therapy. And there are a lot of things that you can do by phone online. Now, I have a degree in counseling psychology, and I don't recommend talk therapy at all. I don't think that that's a very effective therapy. I would recommend you do an energy or trauma-based therapy that is designed specifically to remove stuck emotions or address stuck energy. So I would do one like the emotion code or EFT. Another one is biofield tuning. That's probably one you've not heard of, but it's a tuning fork therapy that I've found to be very effective. I've found the emotion code and biofield tuning to be very effective by phone at removing emotions, and they're painless. You don't have to feel anything like cry or remember any memories. That the therapist does all the work, and you might feel pretty shitty afterward, but then you'll get better. Next tip is to learn something new. So this is a good time for you to learn something new. I'm reminded of the Parks and Rec episode where Ben learns to make calzones. So you could learn cooking. You could, you know, as a girl, I automatically think of makeup tutorials, hair tutorials. You could learn, I'm not a big fan of drinking, but you could learn bartending. You could do a lot of things. So I don't see why anybody would ever have to get bored in such a situation, especially if you can go outside. The very final most tip is, this is a good time for spring cleaning. Now, I always have stuff that I want to get rid of and that I want to sell and that I don't have any time to list on eBay, and I don't want to do it. So if I was actually doing like an off work type thing right now, that's one of the things that I would probably do. I like to have my house ready so that if I were to have to move, I would be able to just like take off with all my things that I wanted and not have the things that I didn't want that I wouldn't take with me if I were going to move. So those are some tips. This is a great fun time to practice your apocalyptic survival skills. And like, how would you live if forever the world was going to be more decentralized, more sustainable? What would you do with your house and your garden? How would you get your water and electricity? And maybe think about implementing some of those things into your life, so that's just the way that we live all the time, because it's better for the environment and better for our health a lot of times, depending on what you're doing. And yeah, those are my tips. So if you have any questions, leave a comment below, and hope you liked my video. All right.